Tonight, video Justin Timberlake fought to keep private is trending. It shows his arrest for drunk driving on New York's Long Island 2 years ago.
So the reason for the stop is because you keep veering off to the left.
What if the video that ruined Justin Timberlake's reputation was actually a cry for help? In March 2026, the 8-hour clip the star spent millions to bury was finally released to the public. But as the world laughed at the memes of a stumbling legend, a darker truth was rotting behind the scenes. Could there be more to this story, or is the world witnessing a final goodbye? The Midnight Collision. Imagine being one of the most iconic figures on the planet, having spent more than 30 years building a brand that stands out by being confident, showcasing real talent, and being in control. Then, in just one unforgettable night, everything you've built is jeopardized by a policeman's body cam. For Justin Timberlake, that camera captured 8 hours of footage he prayed the world would never lay eyes on. By March 2026, the legal battle over this video had finally spiraled out of control. Most people thought the story was over back in 2024 when Justin paid his fine and moved on. But it was far from over. His legal team had been privately battling the case in New York for nearly 2 years. The case wasn't just about money or jail time, but about fighting for his dignity. His lawyers argued that releasing the full unedited video would be a disaster for Justin's privacy, claiming it would cause irreparable harm to his image and subject him to public ridicule and harassment. They claimed the footage showed him in an acutely vulnerable state, unlike the confident superstar the world saw him as. The defense team insisted that because he had already completed his community service and paid his dues, the public had no right to see his lowest moment. However, the courts in early 2026 saw things differently. Judges pointed out that once a person is arrested in a public space, the records of that arrest belong to the people. Transparency is a cornerstone of the American legal system, and the law applies to everyone in the same way. And so the final ruling was passed to release the tapes. The suspense before the release was intense. Everyone wondered what could have happened in those 8 hours that was so damaging. Was he crying? Angry? Did he say things that would make his fans turn away? It stood out because it was nothing like the usual celebrity apology. Normally, stars rush to share their side of the story. But Justin did the opposite. He tried to bury the story so that no one could ever find it. This legal match totally backfired. By trying so hard to hide the video, his team only made everyone 100 times more curious. It put a massive spotlight on the one night he wanted to erase. To understand why this video was so dangerous to his legacy, we have to go back to that rainy night in the Hamptons where everything began to unravel. The night of June 17, 2024, began like any other for a billionaire pop star in the Hamptons. Justin Timberlake was chilling with friends at the American Hotel in Sag Harbor, a cool spot where people come to be seen but still want their privacy. He was in the middle of a massive career boost, with a new album out and a packed tour schedule coming up. Feeling confident, he probably expected his short drive home in his gray BMW would be just another normal trip. But around 12:37 in the morning, a young police officer spotted the luxury car swerving on the road. The BMW failed to stop at a stop sign and started veering into the opposite lane. The officer turned on his red and blue lights, causing Justin to pull up to the side. While most people would recognize Justin Timberlake instantly, after all, his face has been everywhere for decades. This young officer didn't recognize him. To him, the man behind the wheel was just another driver who smelled of alcohol and had bloodshot, glassy eyes. The conversation that followed is now a permanent part of pop culture history. When the officer began the traffic stop, Justin became visibly anxious. He looked at the officer and said, "This is going to ruin the tour." The officer, genuinely confused, asked, "What tour?" Justin's response was barely audible. "The World Tour." It was quite the contrast. One man was thinking about global stadium dates and millions of dollars in ticket sales. The other man was just trying to keep the streets of Sag Harbor safe. Justin then insisted he had only one martini before getting behind the wheel. He told the officers he was simply following his friends home. Despite his claims, the police officer asked him to step out of the vehicle for a field sobriety test. On that dark stretch of road, the president of pop struggled to walk a straight line. He wobbled during the walk and turn test and couldn't keep his balance. When asked to stand on one leg and count out loud, he couldn't keep his posture steady. The officers asked him to take a breathalyzer test. Justin refused all 3 times. In the state of New York, refusing that test leads to an automatic license suspension. But Justin seemed more concerned about how it looked. He was handcuffed and taken to the station. By sunrise, his mugshot had become one of the most famous photos in the world during that period. He appeared tired and wide-eyed, just like that. The polished, flawless image he had built over 30 years vanished in a single night. The internet turned the World Tour comment into a joke within hours. Thousands of memes flooded social media, mocking the idea of a wealthy star worrying about his schedule while being arrested for a serious offense. It seemed like a common case of celebrity entitlement. To most people, it was just a funny story about a famous person having a really bad night. But as we would later find out, Justin was quietly fighting a physical breakdown that made those sobriety tests nearly impossible. The cracks in the armor. In September 2024, the bright stage lights were replaced by the glow of fluorescent bulbs as Justin stood before a judge to face the consequences of his actions. His lead attorney, Edward Burke Jr., had spent months fighting the original misdemeanor charge of driving while intoxicated. It was a serious case because a criminal record could have seriously impacted Justin's ability to travel for his world tour. After intense negotiations, his team secured a plea deal that downgraded the charge to a non-criminal traffic violation called driving while ability impaired. Justin's sentence was a mix of the usual penalties with a twist only a celebrity would get. He was slapped with a $500 fine and a $260 surcharge, plus a 90-day suspension of his New York driver's license. But the judge felt the original deal was too light, so she added an extra 25 hours of community service. The most talked about part? Justin was ordered to create a public safety announcement. He had to use his massive platform to warn the world about the dangers of driving after even just one drink. It was a sentence meant to highlight the dangers of driving under the influence for both him and everyone watching. Outside the courthouse that day, Justin fulfilled that requirement. He stood in front of a group of reporters and openly admitted his mistake. He encouraged everyone to use a rideshare app or call a friend instead of driving under the influence. It was a classic example of celebrity damage control. For a while, it seemed to be working. The headlines moved on, and his fans started focusing on his music again. But as the world watched him leave that courthouse, no one realized the reaction during his sobriety test wasn't just from the martini. The plan to just move on wasn't going to go as expected. The criminal case was technically closed, but the real unraveling was only just beginning. Before the truth could come out, Justin had to face a world that had stopped cheering and started something else entirely. Justin's latest tour, called the Forget Tomorrow World Tour, couldn't have been more ironic. Because no matter how much he wanted to leave the past behind, the world wouldn't let him forget it. The tour originally kicked off in Vancouver on April 29, 2024, to July 2025. The tour spanned over 100 shows worldwide and sold more than 1 million tickets, making it a financial success on paper. Despite this financial success, things were very different. The tour became a crossroad where Justin's 30 years of carefully crafted image clashed with the harsh realities of today's digital age. For the first time in his career, the president of pop was met with critics and viewers alike, branding his new era as nothing short of cringe. To really grasp how devastating this was, you have to compare 2026 Justin to the sexy back era of 2006. 2 decades ago, Justin Timberlake was the undisputed blueprint for the modern male pop star. His high-energy performances were electric and universally admired. But fast forward to the age of memes and viral social media, and that same style now feels very different. While many longtime fans at his shows embraced the nostalgia and cheered him on, clips from the tour began circulating online with a mocking, sometimes cruel tone. Younger audiences who didn't grow up during his 2006 peak didn't see a legend. They saw a 45-year-old man struggling to match the quick dance moves he had in his youth. The mockery wasn't just online. It started to invade his actual performances. Long before anyone even saw the police body cam footage, the media had already exposed every detail of that rainy night in Sag Harbor. Within days of the 2024 arrest, the exact words from the traffic stop became public, including his claim of having only 1 martini and the officer's blunt dismissal of the situation. These 3 words, 1 martini, ruined the tour, and what tour, became the foundation of worldwide mockery that followed Justin on every stage for 2 years. By 2025, social media was filled with front-row POV videos capturing teenagers' muffled laughter during his signature dance breaks. In some of the most popular clips, the audience heckled him with his own mistakes, shouting, "1 martini!" or sarcastically asking, "What tour?" even during his emotional ballads. It was a harsh reality for an artist who once seemed untouchable. He was caught in a cycle, performing for an audience that was busy dissecting his every move and recording for the next stiff movement to turn into a viral joke. But what the people didn't realize was that the stiffness wasn't from a lack of skill. It was his body literally breaking down in real time. By the summer of 2025, the world tour memes had reached their peak. But Justin was fighting a battle the public didn't know about. On July 31st, 2025, roughly a year after the arrest, he revealed something that changed the entire narrative. He had been battling Lyme disease. This disease isn't just a minor infection from a tick bite. It's a chronic and often invisible war inside the body that attacks the nervous system and causes intense joint pain. Most importantly, it triggers brain fog and severe balance issues, coordination, and overall health. Justin described the condition as relentlessly crippling, making his everyday tasks incredibly challenging. This medical update sparked a huge scientific debate in early 2026, completely changing how people viewed the Sag Harbor footage. Suddenly, doctors and fans alike were re-examining the video with new perspectives. When Justin told the officers his heart was racing and that he felt nervous, was it just the anxiety of being caught? Or was it a physical flare-up from a disease that attacks the heart and brain? Fans also noticed that during the 2026 tour stops in Belfast and Dublin, Justin was leaning more on the Tennessee Kids Band to handle the intense choreography. In his statement, He revealed he had been battling intense nerve pain and sickness throughout his tour, to the point where he seriously considered canceling it because the fatigue was overwhelming. The science of stature perfectly captures how much a performer's physical health shapes their public image. For 3 decades, Justin's reputation was built on his incredible athleticism, being known for his dance moves, vocal versatility, and large-scale stunts. It's really ironic. Someone whose whole life has been about movement and performance ends up with Lyme disease, which makes even simple movements a struggle. It shows how unpredictable health challenges can be, especially for someone so active and talented. Watching the full 8 hours of footage now, Justin looked unwell long before he was even handcuffed. Many critics started to question whether the bloodshot, glassy eyes the police noted were signs of a medical emergency rather than just intoxication. While this doesn't justify his decision to drive, it adds a sad and deeper meaning to the story. A man pushing himself beyond his limits to stay successful in an industry that values youth and strength above all else. It shows how much pressure there is to keep up appearances, even when your health is suffering. The truth about his diagnosis finally made people see him as more human. However, the sympathy in the headlines could only do so much. The challenges he faced weren't just about his health. They also affected the most important relationship in his life. The person he needed most was reaching a breaking point. The price of perfection. While the legal battle was unfolding in the news, people started to look at the Sag Harbor footage differently because of Lyme disease. The whole situation really made things complicated in Justin's and Jessica's home. For nearly 2 decades, Jessica Biel has been a very important figure in Justin's life. Many know her as the wholesome, athletic star from the show Seventh Heaven. The couple first met in early 2007 at a birthday party Justin was throwing for a mutual friend. Justin recalled he made a dry, sarcastic joke that only she found funny. Their relationship started quietly, first noticed by fans while snowboarding in Utah, before they went public during his UK tour in May 2007. From the start, Jessica treasured their relationship's privacy, calling it her one sparkly present she didn't want to share with strangers. But fate had other plans. She has spent years handling the intense pressure of being married to a global superstar. And the recent release of the body cam footage has only made things difficult. By March 2026, those close to the couple started to notice cracks in their relationship. For Jessica, the footage wasn't the surprising thing. It was seeing her husband's vulnerability exposed to millions that was the final breaking point. Publicly, Jessica has tried to keep up appearances. At the Critics' Choice Awards in January 2026, she stood on the red carpet and called herself Justin's #1 fan. She told reporters that his music brings her nothing but joy. A calculated move to show the world that they were still a team. However, behind that glamorous smile, sources close to the couple say the atmosphere at home was anything but joyful. The video release brought a flood of negative attention that the couple had worked very hard to move past. Sources reported that Jessica is not happy and disappointed by the renewed attention brought by the footage. She views the situation as stressful and a distraction from their family life. The arrest reopened old wounds from past public scandals that had already shaken their trust. Years ago, photos surfaced of Justin holding hands with a co-star in New Orleans. He apologized publicly, saying it was a lapse in judgment after drinking too much. For Jessica, the 2024 arrest felt like déjà vu. It wasn't just about a traffic stop. It pointed to a pattern of behavior that seemed to overlook the impact on their family. The incident had already shaken her trust. Insiders now describe their relationship as being strained. Jessica is reportedly standing by him, but her support comes with a price tag. To save the marriage, Justin has agreed to a new set of radical rules. She now has total transparency when it comes to his life. This means full access to his phone and his social media accounts at any time. The days of unsupervised boys' nights in the Hamptons are reportedly over. If Justin is out, he is expected to be in constant communication. These non-negotiable boundaries were built on a past on lapses in judgment and are meant to protect her own image and the safety of their children. She has publicly described their marriage as a work in progress, which is just a polite way of acknowledging the ups and downs they've faced. Friends have even called this a divorce intervention. They worry the couple is stuck in an emotional limbo where they stay together for the sake of their 2 sons and their public image, while the foundation of trust is being replaced by a system of constant monitoring. Ironically, it was Justin's battle with Lyme disease that finally forced the party lifestyle change Jessica had wanted for years. Since his 2025 diagnosis, the party lifestyle became physically impossible for him to keep up with. The illness forced him to slow down and prioritize his home life because he simply didn't have the energy for anything else. The pressure on Justin couldn't be more intense. He's fighting not just for his health, but to prove to his family that he can be the man they need. This is a lot for anyone to carry. He's dealing with a declining health condition and a marriage held together by strict rules. The pressure must be overwhelming, and his final move is a desperate battle in court to try and take back control before everything falls apart. In early March 2026, before things took a turn for the worse, Justin's legal team fought hard to keep the video private. On March 5th, they won a temporary restraining order that paused its release. For a brief moment, it looked like Justin might be able to protect his privacy after all. But even for a star, there are limits when it comes to public records. Eventually, the legal battle was lost and the footage was set to be released. A settlement was reached, and a redacted version of the video was given to the media, meaning some parts were blurred or removed to protect certain details. The footage was much more damaging than the original police reports. Seeing a global icon struggle with simple balance tests while telling an unimpressed officer, "I am Justin Timberlake," was an image no PR team could fix, even till date. Although he avoided getting a criminal record, he lost the cultural war in 2026 when he lost control of his own story. As the court cases finally ended, a new question arose. Could the pop star survive the age of the meme? There's a human side to this struggle that often gets lost beneath the jokes and viral clips. As part of his 2024 sentence, Justin was required to complete 25 hours of community service, a task he took to heart. Throughout 2025, he dedicated himself to working with nonprofits focused on music education and local outreach, quietly giving back to the society. Those who worked closely with him described him as a man who was humble, hardworking, and introspective. Not what the world would expect from the high-energy performer. This was his attempt at redemption, a way to rebuild in the shadows. But even his good deeds were a struggle, as his health deteriorated. When he revealed in July 2025 that he had been battling Lyme disease, as expected, the narrative shifted dramatically, offering a new perspective on the challenges he faced. This was his attempt at redemption. But even his good deeds were a struggle, as his health deteriorated. When he revealed in July 2025 that he had been battling Lyme disease, as expected, the narrative shifted dramatically, offering a new perspective on the challenges he faced. Suddenly, those stiff and labored moves that people had been mocking on TikTok took on a whole new meaning. This new understanding pushed Justin into a rebranding phase unlike anything he'd faced before. He has started stepping back from the spotlight, choosing a quieter family life and focusing more on studio work and voice acting, like his role in the Trolls franchise. This change has helped him manage his fatigue and avoid the constant pressure that comes with live performances. It's a way for him to take a break, reset, and find balance away from the public eye, while still staying involved in his career. Justin Timberlake has accumulated a net worth of around $250 million. This isn't just from his past hits, but also from smart investments and the strong income he earns from touring. The Forget Tomorrow World Tour, despite the situation, proved to be Justin's most successful financial venture. Selling over 1 million tickets, the tour was expected to bring in more than $140 million across 70 shows worldwide. The numbers show his popularity in different regions. The North American leg alone made almost $50 million, and his record-breaking concert at Baku Olympic Stadium in July 2025 attracted 52,000 fans. Even after personal scandals, Justin remains a major moneymaker, with his Kansas City show at the T-Mobile Center becoming the highest-grossing event ever held there. Asides these, he has become an angel investor. In early 2025, he joined a $20 million series of funding for Grayson Clothiers, and in February 2026, his early investment in the fintech app Step Mobile paid off when the company was bought by Beast Industries. Along with selling his music catalog for $1 million to Hypnosis and owning a stake in the Memphis Grizzlies, these investments have become a financial cushion that helped him withstand the impact of his arrest. His main assets, including a multi-million real estate portfolio from New York to a 130-acre Montana retreat. However, there has been some significant negative impact on his business and earnings. Luxury sponsors who once adored his polished image grew cautious, and ticket sales in certain markets dropped noticeably, haunted by the lingering world tour meme that continued to shadow his brand. He is now seen within the industry as a respected veteran of pop music who works on his own terms. His appearance at the 2026 Recording Academy Honors showed that the industry still values and acknowledges him. Performing a tribute medley for Pharrell Williams, Justin showed a version of himself that was grateful. He stopped trying to be the energetic 25-year-old dancer and embraced his role as a seasoned legend. However, the limits around how the public sees him have clearly changed. He's no longer the groundbreaking star leading the way. Instead, he's an artist, working to keep his dignity while facing a world that remembers his mistakes just as much as his greatest hits. By late March 2026, it became clear where his future was headed based on his actions. Justin is making a smart move by trying to reset his career instead of releasing new music that might not do well given the current circumstances. Rumors say he is eyeing a massive $100 million Las Vegas residency or even a highly anticipated NSYNC reunion in late 2026 or 2027. As 2026 draws to a close, the Forget Tomorrow Tour, due to its massive success and Justin's health-related issues, was extended into this year. He has upcoming shows in Belfast, Dublin, Kaunas, Milan, and Baku. The most important thing about his situation isn't about his talent, but how he embraces this second chance. He's paved the way for a more genuine connection with his fans, no longer pretending to be perfect. Instead, he's showing us a work in progress, someone balancing his legendary past with the reality of his choices and growth. After Justin announced his illness, he joined the group of Lyme warriors alongside celebrities like Justin Bieber, Bella Hadid, and Shania Twain, which sparked an important national conversation about the realities of these invisible illnesses. His openness challenged the myth that performers must always appear perfect, even when they are struggling, because it doesn't show physically. While some questioned whether the announcement was strategically timed, medical groups such as ILADS praised him for helping reduce the stigma around chronic fatigue and raising awareness about the condition. Justin has since started treatment for his Lyme diseases and has been using specialized physical therapy and IV drip treatments just to keep up the stamina needed for his concerts. At home, he is working to rebuild trust. His wife, Jessica, has adjusted from being just a supportive spouse to becoming a dedicated medical advocate. She has always been passionate about wellness. She's playing a key role in Justin's recovery by researching holistic treatments to help him deal with the brain fog and chronic nerve pain that affected his 2025 tour. They have turned their home into a healing fortress. For their two sons, Silas and Phineas, this peaceful and remote environment has offered a sense of normalcy, protecting them from the negative attention surrounding their father. This space has allowed the family to focus on healing and growth away from the public eye. He is also staying in more to avoid the stress of public scrutiny. His goodbye forever isn't about giving up his talent, but about letting go of the part of him that didn't fully get what real struggles feel like. Given what we now know about his struggle with Lyme disease, does the Sag Harbor footage reveal a reckless superstar or a man physically unraveling? And does his Lyme disease diagnosis serve as a valid explanation for his performance on the sobriety test? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, click on the next video on your screen. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.